Hey everyone, it's Cory McCarthy, and welcome to another live Q&A broadcast. If you hear that buzzing noise in the background, just my air conditioner, it's on full blast, and it's still pretty fucking nasty here in New York. Just both hot and muggy.
That feeling you get
What the fuck is that?
money on parts.
Sorry, 1 second.
Without having to jump through it.
Sorry, that was an ad. That was an ad playing on the Q&A because I have the chat box open, so I'm going to hear noise. I've muted that, so we should be good to go. Sorry about that. That's a little awkward. Anyway, so I just want to let you guys know that I'm probably going to end up doing these once a week. There was a pretty good response to it last time. People seem to enjoy it, and so therefore I'm probably going to do these about once a week. Every week, I guess we'll see how it goes. We'll see what people's opinion of it is, if they want to see more of these, or if that's just going to be overkill. I guess we'll play it by ear. And pardon me, like I said, it's hot as fuck right now, so I'm going to probably wipe my brow every now and then. Even with the AC, it can't compete with this nasty humidity we're having here in New York right now. So it looks like we got people coming onto the call. I'm going to revert to the chat box. Guys, drop your questions in the chat box, and I will begin to answer them. So let's go to that chat box. I got two people saying hello to me. Hello to both of you. So I do have a question I'm going to start out with here. This is a question that was sent to me by email. I don't think this fella is going to be able to make the call. So I got this email, so I can find it. Here we go. From Keith. He says, let's see. Scrolling down to find it because let's see. I have used intermittent fasting without realizing it, and I got results. I have hesitated because I was afraid that I might not be getting enough calories. Should I still use this method to help me lose weight? Also, I want to get lean and muscular because although I want to get back to bodybuilding, I want to get into other activities such as rock climbing, maybe even a triathlon. Do you recommend eating something like bananas? I'm going to start with the intermittent fasting question first. Instead of jumping into the next second question. Obviously, this is a multi-part question. So, you were doing intermittent fasting accidentally, it sounds like. There is no reason why that can't work for you. Now, am I going to sit here and say that intermittent fasting works for everyone? No, I won't, because that would be for everyone in the sense that is the only way to do it. No, I'm not going to do that to you, because intermittent fasting is not the way. It is a way. It is one way of many ways that you possibly could approach dieting. I personally like intermittent fasting because, specifically when I'm cutting, that's what I mean. Because when you're cutting and your calories are a bit lower in a modest deficit, it's a psychological thing. Basically, when you do intermittent fasting like I do 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of feeding. And I've described this in some of my videos. So basically, I'm condensing, all of my calories for the day, even though it's a cut, so it's a smaller amount, into 8 hours. So that feels like more calories than what it really is. And I use things like coffee during the fasting period because coffee is an appetite suppressant. And this is why I like intermittent fasting personally, because I find that it helps being in a caloric deficit, even a slight one, because I never advocate big deficits, to be a lot more easy to undertake, and you get less cravings, and it's a little bit, you don't feel like you're starving. Even if you aren't starving, you don't feel like you're hungry because you're cramming so much into a smaller window of time. That's why I like intermittent fasting. Now, it's not going to cause you to lose muscle or to lose good weight, because as long as you're getting your daily caloric needs met within that 8 hour window, it doesn't matter that you're not getting it in the other 8 hours you might be awake if you've slept 8 hours overnight. So that doesn't matter. Just make sure that within each day, within each 24-hour period, you're getting your needs met for calories, protein, fat, and carbohydrates. That's what you need to do. Nutrient timing is not really that important unless you're an elite level athlete, like an Olympic athlete, for instance. It's not really that important. Otherwise, you can still build muscle and lose fat and maintain muscle on intermittent fasting, even with periods of not eating. And it's not starvation either, because you're still eating every day. It's just a period of about 8 hours while you're awake and the 8 hours while you're asleep that you're not. And for women, keep it more for hormonal reasons to 12-12. So 12 hours of fasting, 12 hours of consuming food. So you'd sleep for 8 hours, fast for 4 hours when you wake, if you get 8 hours of sleep a night, and then you'll eat for the final 12 hours of the day. So that's how that runs. For me, typically, as I've said before, I'll finish up eating around 10 p.m. I'll begin eating the next day at 2 p.m., and then I'll stop around 10 p.m. That's how I work my 16-8 protocol. And I do that every day, and I've been doing it for, Christ, I've been doing intermittent fasting for about at least a year now, maybe longer, nonstop. That's just the lifestyle that I live. So anyway, that was that portion of the question. Let me look at his other portion of the question. I want to get lean and muscular because although I want to get into bodybuilding, I want to do other activities like rock climbing, maybe even a triathlon. Do you recommend eating something like bananas for a pre-workout meal instead of protein powder? That's fine. I've actually done a video where protein pre-workout, not BCAAs, and not isolated amino acids, but protein powder, for instance. Now this, bear in mind, this came from a study that was done on whey and casein, not pea protein or soy or whatever. So it might be different for plant proteins. I don't know. The research, I don't know. But that study showed that there was actually a negative effect of eating protein directly before your workout. Now, BCAAs, different. Like, that appears to have an anti-catabolic effect, and it helps deal with muscle damage during your workout. So, yeah, bananas, that's great. Have that before your workout. Also, are there any workout plans that you would recommend? I have used programs like P90X and T25. Look, I don't know. I don't really know anything about T25. P90X to me is like, I don't know. If that's your thing, I mean, that's fine. You also mentioned Body Beast. I mean, it really depends on what you want to do. Like, you can do standard bodybuilding, powerlifting type routines, whichever one you prefer, or a hybrid of the two, a power building type routine, and be athletic. You know, that's really about cross-training properly. What I do, for instance, with martial arts is I bodybuild on some days, and the days that I'm not bodybuilding, I'll train the martial arts so they don't conflict with each other. The only time that becomes a problem for me, and I've noticed, is that when I train my legs before a sparring session, for instance, not kicking the air, but if I'm kicking pads and kicking people, then I tend to have a calf cramp sometimes. Like my calves will begin twitching and cramping if I had just done a heavy calf and leg session the day prior. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll somehow work in where I've gotten my martial arts training out of the way for the week, and maybe do calves on like Saturday or legs on Saturday when I'm training martial arts specifically for a competition, for something where I'm training all the time and it's very hardcore and there's a lot of sparring and a lot of pad work and a lot of resistance-based pad work, you know, where we tie resistance bands to ourselves and hit the pads under resistance, which builds explosive power due to post-activation potentiation. But yeah, for you know, there's no reason why. The only exception being rock climbing, I would say, because with rock climbing, I would imagine, now I don't know, I don't rock climb, so I'm just saying this purely from speculation, that with rock climbing, I would assume that the lighter you weigh, the lighter you are, the leaner you are, the better you're going to be at rock climbing, because you have to pull your body weight up through gravity as you're climbing a course or climbing a mountain or whatever it is that you might be doing. So that's where I would say that maybe having too much extra muscle on you, or especially too much fat on you, might not be preferential. But there's no reason why you can't find a happy balance between those two. You know, find a point where you have some decent size and strength, but it's not hindering your rock climbing. And that's just going to come from trial and error and time and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. You know, finding out where your threshold, as I call it, is of weight and how that affects you. Okay, so I hope that's answered your questions. I'm going to see what's coming up here now. Hello, what part of New York do I live in? I live in Manhattan. Hey, Cory, is beet juice better than eating a whole beet? Depends. I mean, if beet juice powder and beetroot juice, the juice itself, you're getting more. It's like the equivalent of eating a number of beets in a single serving. So if you're cool with eating a bunch of beets to get the same effect, you know, to get the beta-ene and the nitrates from it, that's fine. You know, I always advocate whole foods over, but then again, juice is really just the juiced out from the whole food anyway. So it's juice extracted from the whole food. So I don't think it's a big problem. But I mean, like, yeah, if you like to eat beets or blend them up or juice them or whatever, fine, go for it. That's fine. Again, I'm going to skip over the questions that are kind of troll questions. I'm already getting some here. Have you checked out the new book, Science Development of Muscle Hypertrophy by Brad Schoenfeld? No, I have not. I do own Brad Schoenfeld's Max Muscle Plan, and I have a lot of respect for Brad Schoenfeld. He is one of the great minds in research science behind exercise science and physiology specifically. Sort of along the same lines that I consider Alan Aragon to be a leader in the nutrition, the sport nutrition field. He's like the Alan Aragon of the exercise science field. I put him up there in the same pedestal as you would say Brett Contreras and guys like that. Are you watching the Olympics at all? No, I am not. I don't have a television set. I guess I could stream them online, but I'm just so busy. I don't really have a lot of time to watch a lot of things. I've just been so busy. How much muscle can you build in the first year of training? That really depends. You could there's people who could build between 12 and 24 pounds of muscle naturally the first year of training. Now, 24 would be like genetic freak, but it would not be a stretch to say between 10 and 12 for your average person in that first year of training if you're consistent and your diet is in check. And keeping in mind, too, that in that first year, if you are training with any kind of intensity and correctly, you're going to end up, getting a massive response because your body's not used to that stimulation. So that's 10, 12 pounds for the average person wouldn't be too much to ask in that first year of training naturally. What's the best book on fitness that you have read? That's a tough question. I have to say the Max Muscle Plan is a really good one by Brad Schoenfeld. That is a fantastic book. There's another one by Alan Aragon. This is a nutritional science book. I don't have it in front of me. I can't think of the damn name. It uses a joke. It runs on the joke of 80-10-10, I believe. I have to look it up and talk about it in another video, but it's a recent book. It came out a couple of years ago. Alan Aragon does the diet portion of the book, and then has a section of the book that's dedicated to training written by somebody else. Let's see here. Hi, Cory. Do you think it's mandatory to hit 20% of fat for macros? Yes. No lower than that. Higher? Fine. No lower than that. All the major health orgs have shown that between 20 and 35% of your maintenance needs coming from fat, your maintenance calories from fat, is totally healthy and is great for the production of hormones. You might find that when you're cutting down body fat that you may even want more fat for satiety purposes. So you might even go as high as 25 to 30% of your diet from fat. But when you're just trying to build, or if you just want to maintain basic health, 20% is a minimum. What do you think of Misha Janiak being vegan? I don't think I know who that is. Sorry, is that like a YouTube celebrity or a fitness person or something? I'm guessing it's probably. I don't really know much about who that is. Do you still use fat grips? Any thoughts on their claim benefits? Yes. I haven't used my fat grips in a while because I'm recovering from a wrist injury that I had obtained. The injury is gone now, mostly. I feel it sometimes when it rains, so to speak. Like occasionally it will strike me. So I haven't gotten back into the fat grip training, but I am able to use free weight dumbbells and barbells again, which I hadn't been able to do for the longest time. As most of you might or may not know, I tore my TFCC in my wrist. I was distracted at the gym and it pulled and tore, and it was just not a good situation. I ended up putting down the weight a little too fast. I was doing heavy overhead extensions, it pulled my wrist and it tore the TFCC. And it was excruciatingly painful the first day or two. The pain subsided. There was still mobility, but then I couldn't do things where I had my hands facing upward like a supination. I had to pronate everything. I could do pull-ups. I couldn't do chin-ups. I couldn't do curls with free weights. I could do curls with cables and things like that, and hammer curls, and that was all working. But yeah, it sucked. And for at least the first, like I'd say, month or two, I was mostly working with machines because I couldn't stabilize with that wrist. So, but I still am not able to use the fat grips yet. Maybe it's not that I'm not able to, it's that I'm a little afraid. I might have to give them a try again and see if I'm at that point yet. Cory, do you keep your knees behind your feet when you do squat? Behind my feet? No, that's not going to happen. Like when you go down, your knees are going to go forward. Or are you talking about squatting where you put your feet way out in front of you? You can really only do that with a Smith machine unless you have some kind of fantastic ability to stabilize yourself. But no, no, I don't know. If that's what you're asking, that doesn't make any sense to me mechanically. Is it safe for kids to do intermittent fasting? I don't know. I'm going to be honest. When I don't know something, I'm going to say I don't know. I don't see why it would hurt them, but I honestly don't know. You know, I've never seen research on children with IF, so I can't say for sure. So I would say just, you know, save it for when they're adults or something. I don't see why it would, but I'm not a doctor, and I haven't seen any research on it. Teens, well, teens should be fine. I mean, again, I've never seen research on that. It seems like everyone that has been researched with IF has been using it has been adult athletes. So, or adults, just not athletes, but just plain adults. I don't think I've ever seen a study on teenagers, at least below 18 years old. Likely because a lot of times that might not be considered ethical to run research on somebody who's underage without parental consent. I don't know if a parent's going to consent to that kind of thing unless they need money, and that's kind of a shady thing to do. Protein powder suggestions. I personally use a blend of, and I've mentioned this before, soy isolate, 50%, 35% pea isolate, and 15% rice concentrate. And I do this over at truenutrition.com. That's the webpage that I use, and I have an affiliate code there too. If you're interested, I get a kickback when you use it. It gives you a 5% discount. I get a kickback and points I can use for future purchases. And that is VegNut100, VEGNUT 100. Is it dangerous where I live? Have you ever had to use self-defense on the mean streets? New York City has this rap for being so dangerous and tough. And yeah, you know, there is still some degree of that. But it hasn't really been bad here since the 90s. And as long as you don't walk into certain neighborhoods, I think it's like any city, like London or anything, there are areas that you'll find throughout the city that are pretty shitty. But the thing is, you know when you're approaching them, you can see them coming from a mile away, and you have no business being there in the first place in these neighborhoods. So there's really, a lot of them don't have any kind of shops or any kind of amenities. So there's no reason to be there. Have I had to defend myself in New York City? Yes. I have been in at least 2 subway confrontations. I had a confrontation in a Bed Bath Beyond, believe it or not. The subway confrontations got physical. The Bed Bath Beyond confrontation didn't. I also had a damn near fight with somebody in my building who was smoking in a commons area. I hate smoking, okay? And smoking is illegal in the commons areas of properties. So this person was smoking in the commons area of my building. I told him to put it out. He told me to go fuck myself. And I gave him the finger, and he sized me up and said, meet me outside. I said, sure. So I locked up my mailbox and followed him outside. And he was hightailing it up the street. I guess he didn't think I was actually going to do it. So I chased him up the street. In the end of the street, we had a confrontation. I said, hey, you told me to meet you outside. Why the fuck were you walking away? Long story short, it didn't eventuate in anything. He hopped into a cab and drove off because he said that he had a mother in the hospital or something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, I've had confrontations here in New York City. But like, I don't think anyone's ever really mugged me for like my wallet or that kind of thing. It's like, I've seen gunpoint robberies before in Brooklyn, but yeah, I just want to make sure that everything's still running good. It was like pausing on my screen here for a second. Anyway, continuing on. Is an upper-lower split 6 days a week too much? It depends. How do you feel? How much volume are you doing per session? Really, I would just say, you know, do upper-lower 4 days a week, like Monday, Tuesday, and then, you know, Thursday and Friday. So upper day, lower day, with Wednesday off and with Saturday and Sunday off. You could also do a push-pull that way. You could do a 4-day push-pull. And actually recently, I did a video where I was mentioning Jay, one of my clients. It was that video called Started Eating Meat Again. And Jay, one of my clients, who's a vegan who competed in Men's Physique recently, he was doing a push-pull split. He would do a push day on Monday, pull day on Tuesday, push on Thursday, pull on Friday. And of course, like I suggested to him, or I've suggested in my Vegan Muscle Academy, which is the training service I provide, veganmuscleacademy.com /join now if you're interested. Like I emphasized to him, you can do a push-pull where you set up on push days, for instance, your squat and your calf raises. On pull days, you throw in your deadlifts and your leg curls, and therefore you can actually work your legs into the push aspect and the pull aspect days, the sessions. And that makes it so you can make a push-pull legs day split into a 4-day routine. Have you ever been tempted to get on the gear? I've mentioned this before. Yes. I mean, I think everybody who trains has been tempted to use steroids. I mean, the call is there. I mean, especially when you start building muscle, of course it occurs to you, it's like, well, how much more could I build if I got on gear? But when I did my research with it, that's where it came down to. It was like, I did my research, and I'm not competing. I'm not doing any kind of like hardcore modeling. I didn't see the reason to risk the side effects, like the permanent shutdown and things like that, by going on a drug for what is no more than just the whole point is being healthy and looking good. Why would I want to potentially wreck that? So while I've been tempted to use gear, I've stayed off of it for that reason. And because I'm meeting all the needs that I have without using it, so I don't see the point in going on. Have you ever had deload weeks? I'm not a power lifter, but what I'll do is if I feel that my body is aching a bit more than usual, or that my lifts are suffering a bit, or I feel just generally worn out in my CNS, what I will do is I will take a week or two off training, or I will lighten the weight. So instead of doing, for instance, 8 reps to 10 reps on something, I might do 12 to 15 or something. And or maybe I'll stop bench pressing, stop squatting for like a period of a week or two, and do leg press and machine bench presses instead, just to give my joints a bit of time and my connective tissue a bit of time to recover if I've been hammering it too hard for too long. And then after that, I'll go right back to it again. Or if I feel like I might do, instead of barbell bench press, I might do dumbbell bench press or something else, just to change some things up. How do you tell a powerlifter is on steroids? I don't really follow a lot of powerlifting. I would imagine it has to do with their strength and what they're able to do in that regard. A powerlifter on gear is obviously going to be stronger than a natural powerlifter who's not enhanced in any way. So that's probably one way to tell. I mean, like, for instance, when you see these guys, like the strong men, for instance, who are deadlifting over 1,000 pounds, that should tell you something. That's all I'm going to say. That should tell you something. They're, first of all, obviously on gear. And to deadlift 1,000 pounds, I'm sorry, I've never heard of a natty deadlifting 1,000 pounds. Anyway, good vegan bulking foods. I kind of got bored from peanut butter, rice, and beans. Really, anything could be a bulking food, but the more dense something is, obviously. So yeah, your nut butters, they're going to be a one way to go. Cooking things in oil if you want to, like, or taking a tablespoon of flax oil on some days, which is good for you. But if you're going to cook, I would say cook in coconut oil, just because it has a higher smoke point. And there seems to be some, in research, health benefits to using coconut oil. That's one way you could do it. But yeah, the nut butters, there's vegan versions of Nutella. There's one by, I think it's called the Peanut Butter Company, if I'm not mistaken, that has it's a peanut butter, but it's got the dark chocolate mixed in. It's vegan. And that product, it would be a good bulking food. I don't really like bulking, to be honest, because I've said it before that, people go overboard with that. You don't really need to go overboard. You can just increase your calories a little bit. You don't need to go into this massive surplus and bulk like crazy. I actually prefer recomping or cutting or just plain maintenance. Best books that I've ever read in general, nonfiction, fiction, etc. Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, Glamorama by Bret Easton Ellis, the Space Odyssey series, like 2001, etc. These are good books. I read a lot of poetry and short stories. I am still and was a massive Edgar Allan Poe fan growing up. All of his poetry, all of his short stories, I loved those things. I still do. I actually have collections of his work, actually. Tennyson, Robert Frost. These are more poets, though. But I like a lot of literature, actually. And when I do a lot of reading, I tend to do a lot of reading from instructional books. I read technical stuff. I'll read about astronomy or sports science or exercise nutrition, you know, and I think that's because I'm ADD. So for me, it's something that I can just read for 15, 20 minutes and I can put it down and come back to it later and not feel like I'm left as a cliffhanger. That's better for me. Let's see here. Okay. Somebody says, I'm just going to answer this even though it's troll as fuck. I'm 39. I want to lose enough weight to see my penis when I'm pissing. Any advice? Yeah, cut back your calories and train and do cardio. That's the general advice, you know? Yes, somebody says, I'd be wondering if you have a specific ab routine and if you would be willing to share it. I like to keep it simple. I like to keep all body parts relatively simple. You know, a few exercises, 2 to 3 exercises each. With the abs, there has been EMG and MRI studies done to show what the most effective ab exercises are that activate the muscles the most. And if you really wanted to boil it down to two movements that are the top movements, it would be the ab wheel rollout as the #1 king of all direct ab exercises. I love the ab wheel. And 2, the hanging knee raises. That would be #2. If you want to add in a third, you can go on an incline bench and do reverse crunches on an incline bench. That comes close, like a runner-up, to the ab wheel and to the hanging knee raises. The hanging knee raises are better for your obliques, internal and external, and the ab wheel is really good for your upper and lower abdominal muscles. Now, if you want to work the inner, deeper abdominal muscles, like the transverse abdominis, you want to do things like planks. Let's see. What is my education? I have a bachelor's degree in the fine arts. And I'm also self-educated in a lot of things. I've taken training courses in some things, like, for instance, music. While I don't have a degree in music, I have taken classes on music theory, for instance, and that sort of thing. So, like, you know, I'm always studying something. I'm the kind of person who likes to learn, so I'm always reading, researching, and studying, and that sort of thing. What are my favorite sources of healthy fats, and what type do you recommend for staying satiated? Avocados are great. Flax seeds are great. Chia seeds are great. Hemp seeds are great. If you want to use an oil, coconut oil, but rather, why not just eat the coconut if you can? But if your macros don't allow for that, the coconut oil is fine. Those are some great examples. You'll get fats from tofu as well. Walnuts. These are all good sources of fat. When will you grow your hair as big as the golden one? It's so hot right now, hence this reg. Even with my AC on full blast, we're like 88 degrees today in New York, or at least we were earlier, with like fucking up there in humidity. I'm talking about the humidity has been like 60 and 70% some days. It's just brutality, and my AC can't really handle it. And even with the dehumidifier on, it still is atrocious. So having shorter hair right now is really, really helpful for that reason. Relationship status, involved. Let's see. I vape and smoke, but I can't stand it when people do it inside. Thank you. It's true. Like I don't mind if people smoke in their own privacy amongst themselves. That's fine. But what I have a problem with smoking is when people, infringe upon other people. Like, so, when they're doing it in a public commons area that's indoors with very bad ventilation, especially when there's no smoking rules, which is why I'm glad they banned smoking in restaurants and things like that. Because I remember growing up as a kid when smoking was still allowed in a lot of restaurants, at least where I was growing up. And it was just, even with the segregated sections of smoking and non-smoking, it would waft that way. And it was just, sometimes you just be choking, so yeah. My opinion on calisthenics to build some decent muscle and get shredded. Sure, throw it in there. I mean, I want to emphasize that free weight work is obviously the best. It's your best bet for progressive resistance, but there's no reason why you can't throw some calisthenics in there too. Do things that you enjoy, Full body workouts for building muscle. That's fine. Actually, and they're approved by research. My only criticism of full body workouts is you have to put more, and there's nothing really wrong with this, putting more compound exercises in to get more bang for your buck. But the problem is I feel like sometimes you might have a weakness that you're just not hitting well with those compounds, like maybe your side delts or your rear delts or something along those lines. And that's when doing things like lateral raises or doing things like cable face pulls or doing things like leg curls, if your hamstrings aren't really getting enough activation from squats and deadlifts, comes into play. Brad Schoenfeld recently took part in a paper, in a research study, that showed that the way we thought that muscles once worked, where they had an insertion point and another point where they terminated, isn't exactly true. There's more cross-sectional shit happening than what we once knew. For example, doing just stiff leg deadlifts is not going to work the entirety of your hamstrings, but doing stiff leg deadlifts and lying leg curls will. So this is where I have a disagreement with full body routines, only because unless you want to spend 2 or 3 hours in the fucking gym, which I don't advocate either, I advocate more like 60, 90 minutes tops. Full body is just too much condensed into a short period of time to really tweak as well as I think advanced lifters should. Now for beginners, that's great. Yeah, do full body. I advocate full body for beginners. But as you become more advanced, I think you should move to things like push-pull legs or upper, lower, that sort of thing, because it allows you to tweak your muscles more and do a little more volume per muscle group. Hi, Cory. Have you made any by what I eat in a day videos? I have done many what I eat in a day videos. If you look them up, I think they go by the title most of the times of what this vegan bodybuilder eats in a day. And I'm actually going to be doing a new one soon, showing what I ate when I was on vacation in the UK. And how I followed a meal plan there and how I made that work overseas. I'll be doing that one very, very soon. It's on my list of things to do. No offense whatsoever, but I've noticed that you're very pale. I'm assuming you have Irish or Scottish roots. Do you ever tan and try to look more defined? I'm actually tanned right now, believe it or not. I am very pale because I am Irish, and I have a lot of Northern and Northwestern European blood. I took a 23andMe, so I actually know what my background is 100% now. So there's Germanic, there's Irish, there's Scandinavian in there. And for that reason, you know, I'm just naturally very pale. And it's not a sign of my health. It's just how I look. And when I get exposure to the sun, the first thing that happens is I burn and peel. And then maybe, just maybe, because I have a bit of a tan, a bit of color right now that I've had people noticing at the gym, maybe, just maybe, I'll start getting some color on my skin within a week or two. So basically the color that I have in my skin right now that people are noticing at the gym that's just now showing up came from Brighton 2 weeks ago when I was in Brighton, UK on the beach almost every day and doing a lot of walks in Brighton and that sort of thing, and out in the sun with the castles that because I was in southern England too. So I was in London for a couple of weeks and I was in southern England and I traveled to Brighton, to Lewis, to Arundel. You know, so I was kind of out and about and doing a lot of outdoor activities. My opinion on ahi flower oil. It's supposed to be better than flax oil for your omega-3 content. I never used it. I don't know what it tastes like. You know, I know that Jeff Palmer is selling it through that vegan, through his vegan supplement company called Clean Machine. That's all I know about that. I don't know of any other sources of ahi flower. Do you recommend macro ratios for cutting? Yes, I recommend getting not ratios so much as getting a specific amount. So the only time I talk about percentages really is I talk about percentages with fat, and that is not to go below 20% of your maintenance needs from fat in your calories. But when it comes to protein and carbohydrates is what's left over, but protein is a set amount, and it doesn't change. I have one set amount. Then you figure the rest of your calorie needs after that's set up, and you subtract that from the calorie total. Figure out your carbs and your fat first, then your carbs. Should vegan or mostly vegan YouTubers like John Venus, the Golden One, be transparent that they are on the gear? Look, everyone has their reasons for not talking about why they're on drugs, I guess, the ones that are. I honestly don't think either of those guys are on drugs. I mean, the Golden One is, he appears very big, but understand it's kind of like when I appear slightly, pretty big myself. It's because of, I have extra fat on me as well. I have some water retention or whatever on top of the muscle. So I just look fuller. When you get leaner as a natural, and Golden One has shared some of his photographs of when he got really lean, he looks flat and stringy and sinewy, you know? So, you know, I don't think they're on drugs. I mean, John Venus also looks really full in a lot of his modeling photographs, but if you look at him on his videos, or you look at him with his workouts with Vegan Gains, you know, he doesn't look, I'm not saying he isn't, I'm not saying this is a good predictor, but I'm saying I could believe that he's not on drugs, because he doesn't have that unbelievable look, that photoshopped look outside of the modeling pictures, which are going to be edited and lit really well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've demonstrated this before with my own body. I've showed photographs of what I look like in well-lit scenarios, and I've shown photographs of what I look like when I'm out and about with friends. I did that in that video. I think it was called Fully Natty Attainable Physiques or something, where I talked about Hollywood physiques. And yeah, I mean, like, I talk about how lighting and how, you know, the pump and how all of this and camera angles can really accentuate how you look. You know, it doesn't mean you aren't muscular. It just means that you don't look as grandiose as you do in some of these modeling photographs. So I don't think that Golden One and John Venus are on gear. I honestly would buy them both as naturals. And in the Golden One's case, again, I'm not saying this is conclusive, but he is under the cap, FFMI cap of 25, and he's at like 12% body fat. So we're not even looking at his FFMI when he's at like 8 or 10% body fat, you know. So bear that in mind. Weighted pull-ups are the best back exercise. I guess that's more of a statement. I agree. Weighted pull-ups are really good. They're better than pull-downs because they activate more of the biceps and the abdominals. What are your thoughts on the Durian Rider and Vegan Gains drama? I've actually considered doing a video about this. Not the drama, but a video. Look, I watched a video that Durian Rider slammed Vegan Gains, or, you know, slammed, was commenting on Vegan Gains and calling him an idiot, et cetera, and using a lot of anecdote. I'm strongly considering doing a response to that. Not the fact that I'm stepping in necessarily for Vegan Gains, even though Richard is my friend. Mostly because a lot of the things that Durian Rider says is just mind-numbingly stupid and scientifically just illiterate. And it needs to be put out there. It needs to be said. I think this kind of misinformation, even when it's coming from a vegan, needs to be called out and needs to be corrected. That's my opinion. Is tracking calories a must for getting abs? Yeah, unless you can some people intuitively eat and get there. Unless you can just intuitively eat and you know, and be hitting a deficit, or a deficit by virtue of exercise, without tracking your calories. How do I get my omega-3s? Currently from flaxseed oil and/or flax seeds. I'm still using up a massive container of flaxseed oil, but once that's used up, I will be getting it from flax seeds, whole flax seeds. And actually, when I was in the UK, I was using hemp milk. Do you value more so physical or intellectual prowess? I think both are equally important. I think that, you know, someone who's very bright should try to be as strong as they can be, as powerful as they can be, and someone who's, you know, more on the brutish side of things and physically, a lot of physicality, should try to learn and study and increase their knowledge base. You know, there's nothing, you shouldn't be one or the other. I think that people should strive to be well-rounded. Do I know Dr. Greger? I know of him. I don't know him personally. I still do intermittent fasting, someone's asking. I did. Somebody's asking if I take EPA and DHA supplements. I used to take that, but now I just, after the studies I've seen on ALA as a vegan, I'm just taking ALA. You know, I don't see the point in spending that much freaking money on, you know, literally the difference is like $30 for a small bottle of like algae oil versus like $10, $15 at most for like a Whole Foods brand name, you know, 365 brand flax oil. You know, it's ridiculous when I can convert the ALA just fine, apparently. Yes, somebody asked if I've been sweating since before the question about gear. I have been sweating since the start of this video, and it's getting worse because it's like 88 degrees in New York today. Humidity is up around 60%, and I am just saturated. I am saturated. My AC cannot keep up. It has been fucking nasty. I can't wait for the summer to be over, or at least this heat spell to be over. That's it. I think I've hit all the questions pretty much, except the troll questions that I've kind of left out. But I don't see anything else new coming on. I'll give people another, minute or so to ask some more questions if they want. I guess that's it then. What oils besides flaxseed do I use? I use coconut oil when I want to cook. I will if I'm cooking with an oil, I'll use coconut oil. When I have a salad, like sometimes I might use olive oil, but that's really about it. Flax contains big amounts of phytoestrogens, and it's proven to reduce testosterone. I think algae oil is a good choice. Have you ever tried filtered flax oil? It's the lignans in the flax oil that contain the phytoestrogens. And furthermore, there's phytoestrogens in tofu. There's xenoestrogens in the environment around you from the pollution and plastics and everything else that we use. Phytoestrogens are so weak and so easy for your body to convert. Studies have been done on soy products like tofu at higher amounts of intake than people living in Asia. And they found no effect of feminizing or testosterone dropping, and this is a meta-analysis, so multiple studies done with placebo controls. So I'd say it's fine. I don't really worry about that. So you can't name any vegans who are serious about political issues we face. There are some political-based vegans. Someone's asking this. There are. I've spoken my mind about my thoughts on the politics and shit before and many times. It's no secret that I'm alt-right at this point in time. It's no secret that I'm an alt-right follower of that mindset. If you want to classify me as something, I'm not a liberal. And there's also, I believe, Evalion is a vegan. She's no longer online anymore, I don't think. Golden One is not a vegan, but Golden One is he's like vegetarian, I think, and he's doing this vegan. He never went fully vegan. That's the thing, and I'm still trying to inform him on that. But I don't know about anything else. Wait, somebody keeps saying Kino Body. I don't know what they're saying. I've done Kino Body response videos before, so I don't know what more to say about that. I have nothing else to call him out about right now. Have you considered upgrading the production of your channel? Yes, I actually have a lighting equipment that I've been using. Really what I want to do is I want to find some locations to film that I'm not going to look like a fucking nut job. The thing is, around here I have a lot of family parks, and I want to film in some of them, but the thing is I got to find a time of day where I'm not going to like I know I swear a lot in front of children and shit out there and have parents get pissed at me or call the police. I'm trying to get to the roof of my building, but I don't know if I can access that. I have to talk to somebody about that. I have a lot of ideas to make my channel look a lot better than what it currently does. What is the leanest that I have ever been, and would I rather gain 20 more pounds of muscle or stay the same but really get shredded? The leanest I've ever been has been about 10% body fat. There are some photographs from that time period. I would never really want to get below that. Like that's to me is like, that's like maybe 8% is fine apparently, but 10% looks good. It's healthy for my hormones, and I wouldn't feel too tired on that because I remember being like that. It doesn't make me too tired. So that's the lowest I've ever been. I don't have any interest in competing, so I don't have any interest in getting any lower than that. Am I worried about too much saturated fat from coconut oil? Not really, not when I'm not eating it all the time. Like when I have it, I might have like a tablespoon a day, which is not a big deal. Somebody's saying I'm skipping questions. There's a lot of things I might not. There's a lot of questions in the feed here, so I'm trying to keep up. Is insulin intake a big deal as a vegan? Well, I mean, your insulin's going to spike. I mean, insulin is an anabolic hormone, and it's going to spike when you eat, foods, for instance, not so much fruits, but sugary foods. Low intensity cardio, HIIT, or jogging moderately to get really lean. Whatever you prefer. The research shows that all of them work just fine. In combination with resistance training, all of them will work just fine. So do what you prefer. HIIT will get you in and out faster, and has all that afterburn. But low intensity and jogging might be preferable to you because maybe you just want to do something lighter and for longer. Maybe you can listen to a podcast or something like that. Somebody's saying to meet Casey that I'm in New York. I don't even know who Casey is. There's a lot of people here in New York, a lot of vegans that are in New York as well. There's actually a Vegans of New York Facebook group that does meetups, but I've never really gotten out to them ever, actually. Do I have an opinion on vegan cheetah? I have mentioned this before, that I don't like the evolution that his channel has taken, That's just my personal opinion. I think that the whole drama thing, especially in this TMZ style drama that he does, is just, it's entertainment value, but it's really not. It's like it's shallow and not informative, unless you just like to peek into other people's lives, like to know, who they're fucking and things like that. It's like, but I don't really care about that sort of thing. So for me, I don't particularly care for that. I don't think it's doing any favors for veganism, but that's just my opinion. There are people who obviously get a lot from his or enjoy his channel, and so be it, whatever. That he obviously has subscribers and people who watch his work. So, more power to the people who enjoy it. More power to him for producing that content. It doesn't fly with me. My thoughts on IGF-1. Take an IGF-1 or its necessity in the body, because it's an important hormone in the body. You wouldn't be where you are today as an adult if it wasn't for IGF-1. But it has its purposes. But injecting can be risky, as with any hormone or anything you put in your body in excess. Do I have any suggestions for vegan food that has neither has to be cooked nor like fruit, which can get spoiled quickly, like canned fish or something, but a vegan substitute for that? There is a vegan canned tuna. I think it's called TOONAH or something. It's actually vegan tuna, and it comes in a can. I don't know if that's what you mean, but there's that. Beans come in a can too, if you're looking for something that's more of a whole food and not a processed food. Do I think Rich Froning is natty? He's like a CrossFitter. I don't know. I think a lot of those pro CrossFitters aren't natty. I'm just going to sit here and say that most top-level, elite-level pro athletes with all those sponsorships are using something. I noticed you're saying that Durian Rider and Freely's diets are very low in fat, and I agree. How come their blood tests show their omega-3 and 6 levels are just fine? Do you think they're honest about what they're eating? Look, I'm telling you right now that the research on fat intake is clear. Your hormone levels will crash if your fat's too low. You can't get omega-3s out of thin air. It's found in food, but you have to get enough from your food to make sure your levels are proper. Your body cannot create it. So if they're absolutely not eating really any fat at all, then they're lying. It's pretty simple. Your body, unless you're a unicorn or something, your body cannot produce omega-3 fats. You need to get it from your diet. So if they have optimal levels, yet they're claiming to eat a very low-fat diet, and you're not seeing it in their daily meal plans where it possibly could be coming from if they're showing what they're eating, which I believe they claim they do, then someone's not telling the truth. Someone's lying. And that's just that. I'm just putting that out there. That's my opinion. Sounds like someone's not telling the truth. Where to meet vegan women. I've done a video on vegan dating. There are vegan dating services. You could also go to vegan meetups, or you can move to a city where there's more vegans, or you can lead by example and convert your significant other to veganism by leading by example and placing a good argument, not rubbing it necessarily in their face, because that won't work out in a relationship, but leading by example and trying to convince them, lovingly. Just there's a number of questions here. My battery in this computer is starting to kick out because it's already been about an hour now. Bear in mind, I'll be doing these videos once a week. There seems to be a lot of questions coming in. So obviously I'll do more videos over time. What physique do I prefer women to have? That's a, you know what, to be honest with you, I've dated girls who are really lean. Like I was dating a girl in 2013 who is a bikini model, and she currently competes in figure in the WBFF, I believe, or WNBF, I can't remember which one of those two. WBFF, I believe. I've featured some of her photographs in older videos, and so I've done that before. But most women I've dated have been average body type, average, not fat, not really skinny, to even a little bit curvier. That's a good word for it. What do I prefer on women? I like, this is gonna make me sound like such, a pig to some people, but I don't really give a fuck. The truth is, I like a nice butt. I like women who have nice legs. I like women who have nice eyes. I'm not really a big breast guy, but a butt and legs, I definitely check that out. I'm not really into the really skinny runway model look either. Favorite fitness YouTubers that aren't vegan? Well, I guess you can call Golden one of those, because I'm a friend of Marcus's, and he's not really vegan. To be honest, I don't really watch a lot of YouTube. I do watch some. I catch some things, but I'm so busy all the time that I've even not caught up on a lot of Vegan Gains' videos because I've been just so busy. Yeah. I know Caldwell Esselstyn has said that 15% or less of fat in your diet equals regression of heart disease. But for instance, the American Heart Association, the World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control, a couple of major universities, there's a number of people, a number of organizations who have put out that it's perfectly healthy to eat fat within 20 to 35% of your maintenance calorie needs. And these are documented. So these are actual, I'm not saying these doctors are, don't come with the best intentions, but understand too that doctors don't always understand nutrition all too well, unless they've done some self-study. When it comes to a lot of doctors, they study nutrition lightly, but nutrition isn't their forte. So nutritionists are people, and nutritional scientists are people you should turn to for that information. But I'm not saying that all doctors don't know what they're talking about, because there are many who do study nutrition as well. And there are people who don't have any medical degrees who study nutrition and understand it. For instance, Lyle McDonald is a training coach, but he has absolutely no certifications. But he's a sought-after training coach, and he gets people results. So, but I do not agree with 15% or less fat from your diet for health, overall health. Somebody asked if I noticed any neurotropic effects from intermittent fasting. Are they, am I noticeably sharper while fasted, for example? I can't say no. I mean, like, I don't feel anything bad. If anything, I think it allows me to get more done. I feel more productive because when I wake up, I can, instead of having to think about making food or whatever, I can just get on with my day and do whatever it is I need to do. So But the only thing I noticed is a bit of hunger in the beginning. I was quite hungry, but coffee is an appetite suppressant, so that actually helped me through that. Just a lot of repeat questions too. Trying to scroll down here. Anyway, I'm gonna start cutting at this point. I mean, it's already been a little over an hour. I'm gonna be doing these every week, so you can like ask me questions next week as well. Because it seems like a lot of people are really enjoying this. It's just that also I'm getting really, really hot right now, and my AC is not like really helping. So I want to go take a cold shower. So we'll continue this session. We'll do another session next Sunday, probably around the same time, maybe sooner. Yeah, I'll keep doing this. Seems like people really enjoy it. And also my charger, my battery is dying, and my charger's way over there. So, and it's hooked up to my other outlet. So I'm just gonna, being as hot as I am right now, I'm just gonna call it quits at this point, and I will see you guys around for the next episode, and again next week for the live Q&A. Take care.